The Court of the United States of the Trekosophy Continuum is now in session. The Honorable Judge Ben McLean presiding in Western Civilization versus Brandon Kirby, the Captain of Canada.
The accused will now answer to the charge of being Canadian, a grievously savage race that brutally slaughtered the English language.
I will only answer to specific charges.
Are you certain you want a full disclosure of Canadian idiocy? So be it, fool. Bailiff Chris McGee, present the charges.
Criminal, you will read the charges to the court.
I see no charges about us, you hoser.
He's doing it again! Soldiers, you will press those triggers. If this criminal answers with any word other than guilty, criminal, how plead you?
Guilty. But provisionally, eh?
Okay.
Let's Trekosophize. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Let's Trekosophize.
Okay.
Last episodes. We're in it.
The last episode for this year. I hope we'll all be back next year.
Yes.
Well, anyways,
Posers.
today we were going to talk about final episodes from the Star Trek seasons, because this is the final episode of our Trekosophy season for 2013.
Well, maybe before we go any further, what was everyone's favorite final episode? Maybe we'll start with you, Chris, you hoser.
Oh, hands down. Absolutely. No question about it. Deep Space Nine.
I question it.
What you leave behind.
And Ben, you about saying retard. What was your favorite last episode?
Oh, I want to hear yours first. I'd like mine to go last.
I actually, with the exception of the original series, I really enjoyed all of them. As a matter of fact, I really thought TNG was the culmination of everything that was Next Generation. It was about the paradox, the expanding of the human intellect. Deep Space Nine was about good overcoming evil, and Voyager was about the Starship Voyager returning home. Enterprise was about the build-up to the Federation, and they finally achieved the Federation.
And by the way, spoilers, everyone. Sorry. Sorry.
This isn't a show about last episodes, and we already said that, so obviously...
Yeah. If you hadn't seen all the series, then tough luck.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I thought they all really, in their own way, maximize their potential. So if I had to pick one that really got me emotionally going, I would agree with Chris. Probably Deep Space Nine, but it was probably the most emotional of the series. One that I thought intellectually satisfied me had to be The Next Generation. The one that I was expecting the most, not in a boredom sense either, but in a... How does C.S. Lewis put it? Repetition isn't so bad. I mean, it's the repetition. We're entering into the Christmas season. There's a repetition there of I expect turkey and plum pudding. And I'm disappointed if I don't get that. Voyager had that level of repetition, whereby it wasn't boring. It was exactly what I was expecting, and I was satisfied because I got what I expected. Voyager had that. I was expecting them to return home. In Enterprise, it was the prequel. It laid the foundations for everything wonderful. I think there can be something said for all of them. As a matter of fact, my only position here, because I don't want to seem this appeasing politician who loves everything la-di-da, which episode of the Care Bears...
Yeah, I was going to say.
This isn't anything like that. The only thing I'm opposed to is if you have beef with any of those series finale, therein we have a disagreement. And I will be antagonistic. And I will defend any of the four. I really enjoyed all four of this series finales.
I was going to say...
Not in a naive Care Bear way. I meant to say in a very antagonistic, aggressive way. I enjoyed all four.
So,
wait,
you can't
four?
give an four, meaning for the four series, there's
What?
where there wasn't.
TNG, DS9, and Voyager, and Enterprise doesn't count, so there's 4.
No. I meant to say the original series. Are you kidding? Ben.
Okay, wait a moment. Whoa.
I've always said
original
I don't
series,
like
Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager.
The
That's
original
4.
series-
Enterprise is 5, and if you it is considered canon now, the animated series is 6.
I enjoy the animated series. The only problem is the original series did not have an ending.
Neither did the animated series.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Let's stricken from the record.
Oh, so you're just going to strike them
Let's-
because they didn't have a proper ending, according to Brandon
Plus
Kirby?
Star Trek
No,
Generations.
we're talking about endings, and so let's strike from the record.
Well, then if that's the case, why don't we put together the original series and animated series and say that their ending was Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. Because essentially they had a pretty good closing at the end of that. I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead.
I thought Generations was the last movie with you.
It was the last one with the captain, yes,
Yeah.
and of course, Chekhov and Scotty. But it didn't really have the send-off that Star Trek 6 had.
Yeah, Star Trek 6 was... But it wasn't the fun... If you want to call that the finale, sure. In that case, I really enjoyed all 5 finales.
Okay. I like that. What about you? Ben, you like that?
Ben, yeah, what was your favorite? Of the finales, which was your favorite?
Well, Brandon, I mean, that does still seem like kind of a cop-out answer because you're going to ask somebody which one's your favorite. You kind of want to get which one's your favorite,
Okay,
and it's a hard question because it's hard to choose. That's what makes it a hard question.
Yeah.
I'll pick one. TNG. I really enjoyed Deep Space Nine. As much as I enjoyed it on an emotional level, I enjoyed TNG on an emotional and an intellectual level. And for that reason, I'll elevate it above the rest. It wasn't just emotionally satisfying, it was also intellectually satisfying. It captivated my whole intellect.
So Chris likes the DS9 ending. Brandon likes the TNG ending. I actually like the Voyager ending.
Yes.
My favorite series... see, I wanted to go last because I thought that'd be more controversial than the other answers. My favorite series is DS9. But if I had to choose a best concluding episode to a series, which final episode did the best job of wrapping up its series without considering which series is the best, then I'd have to say Voyager.
Why?
Because of the writing.
That's exactly the reason why I wouldn't choose it.
The episode right before the final episode of Voyager really gives no indication that, it's going to be over. And they could have just left it hanging and never really resolved the situation they're in. But considering, the suits call you and they say, hey, this last season of Voyager? That's the last season of Voyager. And you're stuck with only one more episode, and you've got to figure out how the heck are we going to finish this thing up?
Is that how it went down?
I'm guessing that's how it went down. And if that's how it went down, if that's how it went down, then I have to say that was a brilliant writing job. To get all of that stuff resolved, to have a send off for each character, and to deal with Seven of Nine's relationship. It got to be in the episode, and all the different stuff. The Janeway getting to have a final confrontation with the Borg, and the whole time travel angle, and getting to see Tuvok as an old Vulcan with some kind of mental disease. I mean, that was just so weird. I thought that was interesting. And overall, I thought that was the strongest final episode. It gives you kind of little... It's a big shortcut Deus Ex Machina, I give you that. But assuming, you have a choice between doing a regular Voyager episode and then not having a next season, and so Voyager is just going to be left hanging. Or doing something like this, which has to close everything in a hurry, but gets everything closed. I think that was a better solution.
I don't think they closed everything in a hurry, though.
Oh, I think they did. I think the ending was very rushed. So if Ben's supposition is correct in that they didn't know that the end of the series would be the 7th season until they were right before writing the final episode of this season, then I agree with him.
Sure, but
they did a pretty good job with what they had to work with. That said, the very end of it did seem a little rushed to me. Okay, they made it home, and they said, we're home, or something like that, and credits roll. Well, there's so many loose ends that need to be tied up, I would think.
What happened to the Maquis?
But the Maquis and
Maquis on trial?
709, all these things kind of need to be, and the new shielding, the new armor that the Enterprise has, or not Enterprise, excuse me, Voyager has. I mean,
yeah, Voyager.
How are they going to deal with these things?
More advanced than any of its opponents. Also,
that said, that would have dragged it out into a second episode if they made it a two-parter, which they couldn't. Yeah. And been a bit of an anticlimax too, I think. So, like I said, in that sense, I agree with Ben, but still at the same time seemed a little bit rushed.
A nice thing though was we got to see everybody home.
Not Joe Carey.
It's just we got to see them
in an alternate timeline.
In a weird time travel way, but we still got to see everybody home. And isn't that just sort of the way a Star Trek series just sort of ought to kind of end, is on, with a plot device like that? That's how TNG ended,
What about Joe Carey?
Who?
Yeah, I don't remember. Who's that?
I honestly wish I don't have to share heaven with either of you.
I don't remember that. Joe, that was the doctor. The name the doctor finally chose, wasn't it?
Wrong. I said Joe Carey. Do you not even... Why
it's been years since I've seen Voyager.
Who's Joe Carey?
In season 1, he was a big effing deal. And by effing, I mean he was a big deal. He was the chief engineer of Voyager for a long time. And then Maquis merged with Starfleet. Chakotay's like, B'Elanna's a better engineer than Joe Carey. She should be chief engineer. And Janeway said, no, that's not going to happen. And Chakotay got his way because B'Elanna was such a much better engineer. But then you sort of just forget about Carey. He's kind of mentioned in the second season a little bit, and he shows up from time to time. But then in season 7, right before they get home, they kill off Joe Carey.
That would have been interesting, but I don't think the audience would have remembered who that was by that point either.
I certainly didn't remember that.
Well, people who enjoyed Voyager certainly did. Yeah, I did. I absolutely enjoyed.
I liked Voyager. I just didn't remember that guy's name.
Joe Carey.
I gotta rewatch it.
How the heck do you remember that guy's name? They don't say it often enough to. It's only in like one episode where they actually say it.
I've said it like 10 times on this podcast alone. It's not one episode.
No, they don't say it very often on the show. It's in multiple. It blends into being a generic Starfleet uniform wearing stick figure after a while, and
there was manufactured emotional attachment.
Let me explain to you how much of an impression Joe Carey made on me. My memory of the show, which is a few years old now, is that B'Elanna Torres was always the chief engineer of Voyager. That's how much of an impression Joe Carey made on me.
Well, I don't.
In other words, none.
Well,
that far.
I apologize.
It's not your fault. It's Joe Carey's fault.
No,
he apparently wasn't a good enough actor.
Enjoyed the Voyager series. I consider myself one of them. We remember the characters like Joe Carey, like Catherine Janeway, like the Doctor. And not everyone does. I'm content with that.
Now,
Okay.
DS9's ending, if you thought Voyager's ending was rushed, DS9's ending was... Perfect. It was like the entire last season was smushed into one episode.
Well, I would say the last 10 episodes, personally, but yeah. Last episode especially.
It's a 9-part series, but the thing is, you can't beat Deep Space Nine's episode in terms of what you could expect from it. TNG was such an intellectual and emotional series. I thought that in and of itself topped the Deep Space Nine episode. But for what Deep Space Nine was, a struggle between good and evil, a political commentary, they really did maximize the potential on that one.
I thought that DS9 could have run at least for another season.
No, they were done.
Well, the creators didn't think so. They felt it was canceled too soon as well.
Yeah, the viewers thought so, and that's really all that counts.
Well, the relaunch novels are really good. I haven't read them yet.
Yeah, I started reading them, and some of them are really good. The ones I've gotten kind of stuck on are ones where they've left DS9 and gone exploring out into space. And the exploring out into space stuff, it's so visual. You really have to see it. And in this case, the aliens they met actually communicate purely through images, and they don't even use sounds. So it's like, this is something that so needs to be visual, and it just doesn't work as a book.
Right. Well, we'll save that for our book podcast when we talk about the Apocrypha.
Okay.
All right. Well, so, but in and of itself, the ending of that series was a little bit rushed, in my opinion.
No, not rushed.
Well, it
was a 9-part episode.
They did tie it up. Well, if you want to look at it that way, sure. They did tie up everything with a nice, pretty bow on top.
Very
happy
pretty.
They did that. But I also was rather disappointed with the way Dukat and Sisko were handled right near the end.
As a matter of fact, that's precisely the thing that titillated me.
It was just he just runs at Dukat and they both go over the cliff. The end of them.
Like Holmes and Moriarty.
No. Well, like Holmes and Moriarty, sure. But what had happened was Dukat had, fire evaporated Kai Wynn, and then Sisko took him over. I found a significance in all of that was moderately Nietzschean, and I'm sure I've brought this up before. The significance was that Kai Wynn was there as a plot device. She was infatuated with being who she really was, and that is Nietzsche 101. I really enjoyed that every single time I saw it. In high school, as somebody just infatuated with a good TV show, and now as somebody who loves good philosophy. Dukat's seduction of Kai Wynn was, you don't want to be humble. Your religion asks you to be humble, but you're not really humble. You're being a fake. You're being a facade. Be who you really are. You're somebody who naturally wants power. That is who you are. So he seduced her towards this authenticity, towards this honesty towards herself. And what was the result? She wound up in flames. Dukat, this great Nietzschean, seduced her and destroyed her for his own ends, his own Nietzschean ends. He was the ultimate Nietzschean. But that was the distraction. He really couldn't stay focused. Sisko could. He was distracted briefly by the temporal, by the vengeance, by X, Y, and Z, and Sisko beat him on those grounds. I thought it was wonderful philosophy. I really did. A plus in terms of the philosophy of it, and in terms of the story, good overcame evil. My goodness, wonderful. I wish I could stand and applaud right now. I love Deep Space Nine.
Oh. The thing that struck me about the destruction of Kai Wen was that phrase from That Hideous Strength, evil always breaks its tools. I think that's from That Hideous Strength.
There you are. Yeah, exactly. Wow. I hope it's from C.S. Lewis. Evil always breaks its tools. Great.
Huh. That's a very good point.
Though I really think I would have liked to see the end of the Dominion War play out.
And
I mean, it kind of didn't play out. You
well,
know?
exactly. Yeah. And is it me? Am I the only one who saw this? That there's a parallel sort of between the ending of Deep Space Nine and the ending of The Lord of the Rings. Let me explain this. There's
Giant
a big battle
pit
going on between lots of people in both of them, and at the same time, there's a small battle happening between 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, didn't notice
somewhere else.
Well, in that case, that would make Dukat Gollum.
Ish. I'm not actually going that specific. I'm just saying that it would have been really, really, really neat if they intercut between those 2 battles. Perhaps I don't know if it would have made it better or worse or the same, but I would have loved to have seen something like that. Maybe
like Star Wars.
Like Star Wars.
That's what Star Wars does.
Oh, you know, okay,
giant galactic battle
right.
Turns out to be some kid with daddy issues.
Right. There's that huge galactic battle at the end of Return of the Jedi, for example, and at the same time, there's that lightsaber battle going on between 2 people and a third person there as well. Isn't this weird?
Weird.
Yeah.
All these correlations.
So weird. Like how so many TV shows have either 3 main characters or 5 main characters. You never have 4 main characters. It's always either 3 or 5.
Who wrote Seinfeld?
I've heard of Seinfeld. I've never watched it, so maybe.
And I know all about the hero's journey and all that stuff. But okay, so we really analyzed the heck out of Voyager and Deep Space Nine. What about TNG? Let's analyze its ending.
Oh, spoilers! In the Matrix, Neo is Jesus. Okay, I'm sorry. In TNG, what?
That had nothing to do with Star Trek. I think.
I know.
Trying to find a correlation there, couldn't find it.
I'm just being silly.
All right. What we had there was actually an outstanding episode, so much so that even the writers said that they believed that final episode of Next Generation was even better than Star Trek Generations, the movie that came out right after it.
I wouldn't go that far, but as the person who initially chose TNG as the best, I will say there was a wonderful plot, i.e. what was at stake, the existence of humanity, and the resolution was the expanding of the human intellect. Q had set up a time frame whereby the dilemma to be overcome was a paradox. You had to realize that time was traveling backwards, so you had to be counterintuitive, counter towards our natural intuitions in order to realize the true threat. You had to go beyond the natural way of thinking. I thought I was
getting that last episode confused with Tapestry.
Okay, well, that's a real issue on your part. But,
yes.
The thing is, I thought that was so emblematic of TNG. It required the expanding of the human mind. Like TNG, as an episode that captivates our interest, on average, it really didn't do that. Because it was an intellectual show, a cerebral show. You use scientific rationalism to overcome the dilemma, which is a bit dry. But the final episode did the exact same thing, but involves something that was rather epic. The existence of humanity. And so it applied the dry rationalistic tendencies of the show with something that was actually quite captivating.
Well, you say it didn't appeal to a lot of people there because it was so intellectual of a show.
Yeah.
But
I do say
that. There were many, many, many people who loved that show. That's what gave Star Trek its, second coming, so to speak.
The Star Trek Renaissance.
Exactly. If it had bombed during the first season, we wouldn't be sitting here talking right now, most likely.
Well, that's true.
Well, the two things I really remember from that episode are the last two scenes, really. The courtroom, which echoes the first episode in so many ways, of course, intentionally, where Q reveals that the trial of humanity, which has been the overarching narrative of TNG, or at least is made into that by this scene, sort of reveals that the overarching narrative of all of TNG has been the trial of humanity, and B, that the trial never ends.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was really interesting. And then finally, Picard joins the poker game for the first time ever.
Yeah.
That was huge.
That was a big deal. Now I want to get a Star Trek poker game on my computer and play poker with the Star Trek characters.
The limit.
Seriously,
the sky's the limit.
Brought them all together, the poker games.
Yeah.
I always thought the TNG crew was a little more distant from each other than the other crews have been. Seemed like, except when they play poker.
The only, there is, of course, any Star Trek nerd out there will point out the flaw in that argument about how the overarching story of Next Generation is that it's all a trial and the trial never ends. There was one episode, first or second season, I think it was first, in which someone says something about the first time we met, you put us on trial for the crimes of humanity. And then Q says, of which you were exonerated.
Well,
there's another time when he says...
Yeah.
And then he says the jury's still out in another episode.
Yeah, well, he lies, but I think the jury
well, that's true. Q lies.
I think the jury was closer to what he really means.
It's just, the writers came up with that at the end of the series.
They came up with that at the last minute, but it doesn't mean it isn't true.
But it works really well, though. It really does.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to say on that? Shall we move on to another series here? Talk about the ending of continuing with TNG. Why don't we talk about the ending of Enterprise?
Well, they had to give Riker digital liposuction.
Oh yeah,
he was too fat to look like Riker.
He was split into that uniform, wasn't he?
Yeah. I see this as a fitness enthusiast. Okay, I do, body judgment, whatever the culture is that condemns people like me. Riker should not have been playing that role. Not as a Pegasus. Yes, as like captain of the Titus or Titan or whatever he was captain of by the end of it. He should have done that. But as William Riker, he had no business playing that role.
Yeah, they shouldn't have gone back to that episode. It was an interesting idea, really interesting idea, but I think it was a misguided one.
Yeah, like
which was which? I'm forgetting what happened here.
Okay, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Riker
split into two.
No, okay.
He split into two.
Yeah, he split into two in a TNG episode, and then his evil twin shows up on DS.
No. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay, because I thought you were talking about because one of them called himself Will, and the other one called himself William.
Yeah.
So when you started saying William,
actually, but no.
Oh, okay.
Let him finish his story. Go ahead, Kirk.
Sorry.
Well, I've got this database of Star Trek. That's what she said, and one of them is to Paul. Something about being split into two. So when you bring that up, that's all I can think of.
Oh no, that's terrible. Okay,
what else is on? What else? Okay, fine. We'll move on.
What happened to Riker that you guys were talking about?
Okay, here's what happened to Riker with my Star Trek. That's what she said. There's Riker in Zefram Cochrane, and Zefram Cochrane says, "What? That's it? It's so small." And then Riker turns to him and says, "It's about to get a whole lot bigger." It's my Star Trek. That's what she said.
That actually happened?
Yeah, it did. Really?
Oh my gosh.
Star Trek First Contact. Zefram Cochrane looking at Earth so far away. He looks at Earth and says, "It's so small." And Riker, "It's about to get a whole lot bigger." Well.
Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Brandon, you're never allowed to talk again.
All right.
That's the best philosophically, Star Trekkingly, everyone's happiness-wise. That's for the best.
Okay.
I recognize.
All right. Let's do this.
Oh yes, Fat Riker. No, back on topic. Star Trek Enterprise. Well, here we are analyzing the events of the Federation, and you have Riker circa, we're talking Jonathan Frakes, circa 2004, when this had happened, 2005. And then he's trying to analyze the events of the birth of the Federation so that he can make a very good decision on how to proceed on the Pegasus, which was a Next Generation episode. But the problem is, the Pegasus, the Next Generation episode, happened in 1993. So you have Jonathan Frakes circa 2004-2005 analyzing the events of Jonathan Frakes circa 1992-93. Jonathan Frakes is not the same Jonathan Frakes. Jonathan Frakes circa 2004-2005 is a fat Jonathan Frakes. It just doesn't fit. He puts on the uniform, but it looks like crap. And I say this, hey, my goodness, Brandon Kirby circa 2003 versus Brandon Kirby circa 2013, I notice a difference. I'm a gym enthusiast, body fitness, whatever. I looked better then than I do now. I admit that, and I'm okay, and I move on with life. But I don't try to reenact a role that has already been accepted. It looked ridiculous, is what it looked like.
It really did.
Absolutely ridiculous. And
Troy was in there, too, for a bit.
I know, but I didn't want to say that on grounds of appearing as a sexist, but age happens.
Yeah.
Troy is not the same. Not saying Marina Sirtis is gorgeous. I'm just saying,
when the actors are old, they need to play old versions of themselves, at best.
And they tried to play the same version of themselves, and Marina Sirtis did not look like whatever. I'm moving on with life. I'm just saying, it didn't work. It did not.
Well. That's my sum up of all of Enterprise. It didn't work.
In TNG, it really didn't work.
What? I thought TNG did work.
I will say this, though. Okay, now, as much as we don't like the fact that they tried to integrate that final episode of Enterprise into a mid-season episode of Next Generation, I have to say the very ending did bring a bit of a tear to my eye.
Of which series?
Of Enterprise.
Oh, yeah, where all the different Enterprise
all the
ships
Enterprises were flying, yes.
And several of the TARDISes, and yeah.
Okay, but yes, I did like that ending with the all the
that was well
music
done.
And with all the ships and everything. That was
I can appreciate that. That was nice that they did that.
Okay. Anything else we want to say about that one?
Why did they do a Trouble with Tribbles or Trials and Tribulations style homage then? That would have been better.
What do you mean an homage to that? In Enterprise, you mean?
Yeah, do the same thing to a TNG episode or something like that the DS9 crew did to an original series episode.
Because it was already done once, they don't want to do it again, especially considering the hell that they went through to get that episode done.
Really? How hard was it?
Watch some of the behind the scenes on that one. They said it took them like 2 or 3 times as long as normal to do an episode.
Oh, okay. Well, that was
staging.
That was cool. I loved that one.
I loved it too. It was awesome. I'd love to see him do more things like that. Yeah. But the story would have to be really good to support it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well. Anyways.
Okay, so the original series. What is there to say about that one? And
I really enjoyed. One thing I really enjoyed about that episode, and for people out there like Ben who really just don't remember that.
I watch it in reruns, and then they don't even play the episodes in order, so I don't even know which one is last.
Okay, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm doing a recap for people like Ben who really just don't remember a whole lot about Star Trek, the original series ordering, and Star Trek in general, and people like Ben who just don't remember a whole lot about philosophy in general. That's fine. I'm doing a recap for people out there like Ben McLean that just don't know what's going on. Here's what you have.
I don't know anything about it. Don't know anything about it. About it.
About it?
Yeah, that.
I'm an American.
Okay. You just go, Brandon. I'll just put myself on mute for a bit here.
Okay. Here I am, Ben McLean. What's a warp drive? I don't know. I'm Ben McLean. Who knows what? You've got Captain Kirk and Janice Lester. Janice Lester is a real ugly you-know-what. Fine, I'll say it. An ugly
Not that
woman. She is an ugly woman. And what happens is Kirk had dated her. We've all got that one in our past that we really just regret. Everyone has her. I've got one. I know the two of you have one where you just regret it. Nope.
Nope.
Ben?
Not that I can recall.
Female regrets. No?
Sorry.
Okay. In general, yes.
Okay, well, what does that mean?
Let's not touch that subject any further.
Well,
Back to your story, please.
My story is you've dated a woman you regret. At least I have, and Chris, who knows what's going on with him. Ben, I know even less about what's going on. I'm just saying, everybody out there has some sort of what's going on here. And Kirk has that as well. Dr. Janice Lester, who was so offended by the fact that she was a woman, wanted to do something about it. What did she do about it? Engages in this alien technology. She can switch places with Kirk. All of a sudden, Freaky Friday, partying, yeah. Janice Lester becomes Kirk, who is now a man, and she's in command of a starship. It's got nothing to do with the fact that you're a man. It's got everything to do with the fact that you've earned the right to command. Janice Lester doesn't get that. She thinks the fact that I'm a man, now I'm all of a sudden in charge, I get to command, I'm just as good. Wrong.
Okay.
That's the whole problem. Everyone starts to realize Kirk is an idiot. It's not you're a man, I'll listen to you. No, she commands, everything falls apart. The whole episode is about the crew piecing together the fact that something is wrong. Kirk is not as brilliant as he used to be. And they uncover her wicked plot.
Terrible episode. Not a good one to end the series with.
As a matter of fact...
But that's because they didn't really even care by that time.
No, at that time they just did not care.
So that's why
I don't
vote for Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, to be sort of the ending of the original series.
I thought I'd seen all of them, but I don't remember that one. I'll have to watch
Turnabout
that
Intruder.
Ben McLean. I philosophize on Star Trek and haven't even watched it.
Okay, let's not go there. So, Star Trek 6.
a lot about DS9, which is my favorite series, but I started on watching Kirk. That's how I first heard of Star Trek.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Chris wants to shut me up because he knows I've had too much to drink.
Exactly.
Well,
and I don't want to start any fights between you two.
I hate you.
Well, here's something quick to ask before we wrap up. Here's something quick to ask, and that is, do you all have any Trekosophy related New Year's resolutions?
We haven't finished talking about the original series.
Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry, never mind.
We'll get to that in a moment. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful.
Much better send-off after a universally panned movie, Star Trek 5.
With the whales.
The Final Frontier. No. That's one we forgot.
Oh, yeah, that was the one we forgot. I remember.
Yeah, written by you-know-who. Or do you not know? William Shatner.
Shatner wrote it himself?
Shatner wrote Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, all by himself.
No wonder he has a ghostwriter for the books he's doing now.
So, Star Trek VI brought back the writer from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Nick, I can't remember his last name now off the top of my head. Awesome writer, awesome story, great movie, wonderful send-off to the old crew. The original crew, excuse me.
Which movie was it that he had on the T-shirt that says "Go climb a rock"?
That's the one. Star Trek V. Final Frontier, where they're looking for God.
Well, the opening of that was written all right.
The what was written all right?
The opening of the movie.
Yeah, the dialogue was good and campy and delightful. Okay.
It was fun.
Yeah. It was fun. Well, you could say that about the whole movie as long as you say it was fun.
Well, the overall God plot, I mean, it started going downhill as soon as they got the actual mission to go on.
Right. Okay. Oh, and of course when they're singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
That was funny. That was funny. I thought that was so funny.
Row your boat.
Well, hey, we're not talking about that one. We're talking about Star Trek 6. Damn it. Y'all won't let me talk about this.
A boat.
Okay. Yeah.
I am not cutting any of this out. So, Star Trek 6, anyone else disagree? You say it was a bad film, rushed, or anything else you want to say about it?
I was okay.
Great. I've got to go piss.
It's been a long time since I've seen those, though.
Okay, I'll cut that out.
Well, no, but I haven't pissed in an hour and a half.
Go, hurry.
No, I want to talk.
While you're doing that, Ben's going to tell us what he thinks.
Okay, Ben, you do that. I'll come back. I'll respond to whatever you said, and I'll respond just as intelligently had I actually listened.
Most likely.
I don't know. It was good. I get them all mixed up in my head, though, because it's been a long time since I've seen them, and I don't remember what order they all come in.
Let me give you a little tip.
Because I thought the God one was this one, and this one...
A great commentary.
Let me give you a little tip here.
Very insightful.
Memory Alpha.
Yeah, well, you gotta get me a...
Great.
I'll probably remember all kinds of lines from it and stuff as soon as I just remember which movie it was. I remember the end of it. I remember everybody being on the bridge for the last time. I remember that. I don't remember the whole movie all that well off the top of my head, though. Was this the one where? Wait. Oh, yeah, assassinate the Klingon Chancellor.
There you go.
Yeah, this is where they actually get the Federation of the Klingon Empire to have their treaty. I remember that. I was thinking a lot about that with all the Klingon stuff in DS9. This all connects up with all that, which was actually pretty well done in the writing. And hold on. So wait a minute. Tuvok's in this one?
Oh, wait a second. Yes, I think he is actually as a different.
Tuvok's in a star in a Star Trek feature film.
Well, so is Michael Dorn.
Well, yeah,
He's
but
playing Worf's grandfather.
Yeah, I knew that, but I didn't notice Tuvok in it. I'd have to watch this again. Tuvok's in it, and I didn't notice him. What do you know? Well, yeah. So,
Ensign Tuvok's blend of tea.
Yeah, I was just spotting this again and seeing how much I can remember. I need to watch all the movies again.
Yeah, it's worthwhile, even the bad.
I mean, it's been too long since I've seen them, and if I'm going to be on a Star Trek philosophy podcast, I need to watch the movies again.
I try to watch an episode about every day, and definitely at least one before we get together here.
This is the one with the reproductive organs in it. The guy with the reproductive organs in his knee.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's right.
This has the shapeshifter in it.
Uh-huh.
So this kind of connects with all of the different other Star Trek series except Enterprise, which doesn't get it. But yeah, other than Enterprise, this connects with all the Star Trek series that count, which Enterprise doesn't. So there.
All right. Your summary. I mean, what do you think of this film?
Well, now
that your memory has been jogged.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was good. It
was
did
good.
A good
had
job
a nice little drama to it.
Wrapped up the characters pretty well. We got to see everybody on the bridge one last time because each movie thought it was going to be the last.
Yeah, that's true.
Kirby.
They did say that, didn't they?
And so, I was almost, when I watched the end of this, I was thinking, well, there's been so many false endings. Is this one really for real?
Yeah.
And it wasn't quite, because Kirk shows up again in the next movie. That guy just never dies.
Second star to the right, and straight on till morning.
Yeah. It was a little weird. You bring in a line from Peter Pan. There's so many lines from Star Trek itself that he could have put there. But his line from Peter Pan, surprising, right up to the end, there's surprises.
Kirby, your thought of this film.
Are you talking about Star Trek 6?
Yes.
Politically relevant, plot-wise relevant, commentary on humanity, therefore intellectually relevant. Win, win, win.
Now, how is it politically relevant?
Well, you have to remember at the time that this film was made, there was some tensions between the U.S. and the USSR.
Relevant to the Cold War. I thought you meant,
And right about that time, what was the accident in Chernobyl? Was it?
Yeah.
It was Chernobyl, yeah. And they tried to gloss over, it's nothing big, nothing happened, no worry. And then soon after they said they came to the U.S. for help. So that's exactly what happened here. The Klingon planet blew up, and at first they said, we're fine, leave us alone, go away. And then they turned around and said, we're on the brink of extinction here, guys, can you help us?
Yeah. No, politically relevant, therefore intellectually relevant, investigation on the humanities relevant. It was a win. There's no way around it. It was a win. Okay, it was really captivating on the grounds of Federation and Klingons reconciling and having some covert disagreements with each other. Yeah, there's a lot of layers there on an entertainment level, but on an intellectual level, there's even more layers. There's no way around it. Star Trek 6 was a great film.
Written by Leonard Nimoy and a couple other guys.
Oh, well,
and the screenplay was adapted by Nicholas Meyer and Denny Martin Flynn, and directed by Nicholas Meyer. That's the guy who wrote and directed Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Okay, that guy really knows what he's doing. I'm just
Hell
saying,
yeah.
Star Trek 6 was a wonderful film. And as a finale, that you can reconcile yourself to that which is against you is beautiful. It's just wonderfully beautiful.
Okay, well, I think that says it all. Ben, you said you wanted to know what our Star Trek...
Oh, yeah. Do you have any Trekosophy related New Year's resolutions for the new year?
I will tell you mine. I need to watch Voyager again all the way through. So I plan to do that next year. When exactly, I don't know. But sometime next year.
Oh, that's a good... Yeah, that's actually helpful. Good for this show.
Exactly. That's the reason why I need to do it.
Yeah. I need to... I pretty much need to watch... I need to make double extra sure that I at least remember the gist of every original series episode.
Well, that's going to be really hard in the third season, especially, because a lot of those shows are so crappy and their plots are the same. And
there is no gist.
Well, what I mean is, start watching it and skip to the next one if I know I've seen it before. Otherwise, watch them all. The handy thing is, on VLC Media Player, you can control the rate of playback. And so sometimes on TNG and TOS and other shows that are a little too slow, I speed it up to where it's a little bit faster than it's supposed to play. Not so fast that you can't understand what they're saying, but fast enough where it gets you through the episode in less time.
I was hearing that the human brain can actually comprehend so many hundreds of words per minute, which is much faster than most people speak. So that's why you can speed up like an audiobook and still comprehend everything.
I don't usually do that on an audiobook unless the guy reading it is really slow. But I will do that for TV. I will do that for TV sometimes. And I also need to watch all of the Star Trek movies again.
Okay.
I've seen them all like twice, but it was a long time ago, and I'm forgetting too much of it to keep doing this show. If I'm going to keep doing this show, I need to remember them better than I do. So
good deal. All right, Mr. Kirby.
What about you, Kirby?
We're talking about Trekosophy resolutions?
Star Trek related New Year's resolutions.
Oh, well, good heavens.
Either one. Trekosophy or Star Trek related. Or even philosophy related, if you want to do that.
Can I cobble some corn? Husk some corn?
What does that mean?
I have nothing specific to Trekosophy, but I would love to watch an awful lot more Star Trek.
Okay,
and read an awful lot more philosophy.
Okay.
I'll husk some corn because it's such a corny resolution, but you know what? That's exactly what my resolution is.
Fair enough. We'll go along with that.
Yep.
I need to actually sit down and start trying to write something.
I would love it if both of you had our Google document open before we started every time. And maybe even Memory Alpha.
Me too.
Well, you know what? I have in the mail right now a tablet that should arrive on Monday, and I'm going to be gone all next week, so I'll get it the Monday after next, which is going to suck. But once I have a tablet, I can have Google Drive open in the tablet, and that might actually work better. And
you have multiple windows on your computer.
I have a crappy old desktop that I'm using for this because it's built into my desk. And if it takes a long time to get Google Drive open on this piece of junk.
Sounds like your internet connection.
No, it's the processor. This is like a 10-year-old computer.
Okay, well, that's neither here nor there.
Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You came along and everything started to hum. Still, it's a real good bet. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine. Wait till the warm-up's underway. Wait till our lips have met. Wait till you see that sunshine day. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, well, I guess that will probably wrap it up for today and for the year. So, thank you all for listening. You've been a wonderful audience, I presume, since I can't see you nor hear you. But still, I think you've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, all 7 of you.
Well, are you sure it's 7? I thought it was 5 the last count. It's always an odd number. Anyway, visit us on the web at Trekosophy.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Send us an email at Trekosophy@gmail.com. And please leave us a review in the iTunes store.
Well said.
Send us some questions if you have any. Some topic ideas even. Whatever you like.
Or even a transmission. If you're in the future.
Is your car in that bad a shape? Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, so for Brandon Kirby and Ben McLean, I'm Chris McGee. We'll see you next year. Good night.
Happy New Year! Bye!
Woo! Live long and prosper. Spin-off character gets his own series. Who is it? Asian dude.
Someone's got some buzzing going on.
That's Brandon.
No, that's just me going. I thought this was the same in America if you called someone a hoser. I even told jokes. Oh, well, what an idiot. He thinks hoser is such an insult. But I guess it's a cultural thing.
It is. Yeah. Here in America.
I've never heard of that, but then there might be a lot of things I've never heard of.
You call someone an asshole or a dick. Those are the two things we do in America.
I hear a lot of that.
Go to Lansing or go home. Did anyone see that Justin Timberlake movie where time is a commodity?
Justin Timberlake had a movie?
Minsk.